Here we go. Fall camp. So they've actually been releasing some stuff about fall camp, which is very exciting. We're getting a little bit more from the social media team, and kind of different snippets. But the piece that I think is interesting is after the initial reports of Jack Tuttle maybe doing a little bit better. Now it does seem like Alex Orji first and then Davis Warren second are kind of emerging in fall camp. So TJ, I know you have some updates for us. I mean, how are you feeling about how the team is coming together in fall camp here?
Yeah, so we have a lot. We got a lot of fall camp intel here. So stay tuned, everybody, because we got you here. Look, first of all, I want to hit on that Jack Tuttle. We've heard some smoke about that. Listen, there was one source driving that, and I have not heard it anywhere else. I've also not had it confirmed to me on my end. What is true though is that in spring ball, or not in the practices leading up to fall camp, Jack Tuttle was a bit sharper. But again, this is not fall camp. This is a different dynamic. And as fall camp has started, what we have seen is Alex Orji has been the quarterback that has been the one that has been standing out. He's looked the best so far through all the practices. He's been consistent. His accuracy has been more on point. He's making better decisions. He's making better reads. He is currently the front runner. And if anyone saw Sharon Moore's press conference today, or his interview, or his press conference he did to the media today, he said they asked him, when are you going to announce a quarterback? He says it may be a week before the game, it may be a day before the game, it might be right before the game. But please understand the reason why that is you're not going to give the opponent any advantage, and you're especially not going to give Texas the luxury of only scouting one quarterback, right? So you're going to make Texas scout them all, game plan for them all. So this way it takes more time out of their preparation. But at the end of the day, it does appear that Alex Orji is doing what we all would like to see, and that is showing that he is QB1 for Michigan. Now, it's not over. There's still more weeks left in camp. Davis Warren has also looked good in camp. Jack Tuttle, from my understanding, is not fully healthy at this time. He still has maybe some lingering injury issues that are potentially holding him back from his full potential. But a player that I do want a spotlight in the quarterback room is Jaden Davis, the freshman. By all accounts, he's really standing out for his age. Sharon Moore talked about that today. He says he's extremely happy with the current development of Jaden Davis and how he's commanding the field and making his decisions. So that's great. But some other points on the rest of the team, John. Tyler Morris has been standing out. He's starting to look like a weapon. They really feel like they have a wide receiver one here. Moving to the offensive line, Josh Preby and Giovanni El-Hadi look dominant. Like they feel like they may have the best guard duo in the Big Ten coming this season, which we're used to. Last year we had Keegan and Zach Zenner. So we are used to a power guard dynamic. We may have another one this year. And then what's very interesting, we've talked about this on our show, and anyone who's been watching us since spring ball, we know that the right tackle position is a bit of a question. Well, there appears to be a three-way battle. It's not just Jeff Percy and Andrew Gentry, but the young Evan Link is making it a real battle here, and he's actually really impressing the coaches, and he may very well be the starting right tackle for Michigan. It's not settled yet. There's still a lot more practices to go, but Evan Link is really giving Andrew Gentry and Jeff Percy a run for their money, so we'll find out where that goes. And then the last thing I want to hit on for offense before we transition to defense is Marlin Klein has been a monster. They really believe that Marlin Klein is going to really take that next step this year and look to be the tight end who's going to take the torch from Colson Loveland after this season. But really, they feel like he's going to have a strong impact this year and be productive for them. So that's great. And I don't know if you guys wanted to hit on any of that before we move on to defense, but a lot of great intel so far coming out of fall camp. And there's actually been a lot of intel this year versus previous years. And that may be a Sharon Moore thing, really. I mean, that might be the difference because I've learned more in the first couple of weeks of fall camp than I have in the past few years.
Yeah, that's a really good point about maybe it's not Fort Knox as much as it used to be, right? So maybe we'll see.
Right.
So Orji, I think there were some some of us were kind of worried, may have been worried that, hey, he's throwing interceptions. Somebody said he's at an 8 or a 15% interception rate or something. Well, I play tennis, and when I practice my serve, yesterday I was practicing my serve. I was trying to spin the ball. I was trying to hit left hand. I play tennis ambidextrous, so I was trying to do serves left-handed. And it's not going to be 80% hit rate with the serves. It's going to be like 50% because I'm working on things. It's entirely possible that they asked Orji to not run, to hold the ball and throw and do it under duress. And he is playing against one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the country as well. So I would not be worried at all about Orji working on stuff. Stats that you get in practice are, you have no idea if they literally said tie one hand behind your back and try to run around and then throw, and don't run for a first down, instead throw. Do only rolling to the left, then spin around and throw the ball. That may not be a very high percentage throw, that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't look too much into that. The magic number for me, I know you guys said 62%. Even over 60 is fine with me in terms of completion percentage. They run more than 62, 63%, somewhere in there or higher in terms of the percentage of plays that are run. 60% completion, low interceptions, low penalties. And I think we will be fine with Alex Orji. And that's what I would say.
So I'll say to have a good season, I think 60 is fine. The reason why I have 62 is because I want to repeat. I think we need that type of level of quarterback play to repeat as a national champion. But I hear you. I don't think we'd be angry with 60%. I also think that's a number that can be improved on by next year. But agreed though. Look, Alex Orji is playing against one of the, as Juju pointed out in the comments, shout out to Juju, best defense all year that he may go against all year. I mean, it's just great to hear that things are going so well for him. I know John probably has a take on it, so I'm not going to take too much of his shine, but it's just good to see that Alex Orji is really showing out right now.
Yeah, I love everything I'm hearing. I love that Alex Orji has been laser focused on practicing and making sure that his passing ability is up to snuff. Everybody knows he can run. Everybody saw him run against the absolute best teams we faced in 2023. But the question was always passing ability. And could he execute an RPO where on occasion you actually got to pass it? Because if you run it every time and you're the starting quarterback, it's one thing if you're coming in for a package. It's another thing if you're running an entire game. Occasionally you got to throw, Antoine may disagree with me if he's here, but occasionally you got to throw the football a couple of times, okay? So maybe it might be 10 times, but you've got to throw the football a couple of times. So there's that. I will say one thing that stuck out to me was that Tyler Morris is coming into his own as a receiver to the point where he could be the number one receiver. That is awesome because I feel like with the wide receivers in general, you see these like blips of awesomeness. Like Cornelius Johnson had like a blip where he was really, really good. And then a lot of time where he was a non-factor. Roman Wilson, I think, was the exception where he just seemed, in 23, he seemed consistently good. But before that, same thing. Blips of really good play. Blips were kind of a non-factor until the national title season where he really was good all year. So hearing that Tyler Morris might be a Roman Wilson type where he can be consistently good and be an option aside from Colston Loveland, aside from Marlin Klein, get some receivers in the mix. That to me was the most striking point from the offense.
Yeah. And another thing I missed on the offensive side of the ball, Jordan Marshall is looking good. Shromore even hit on that today. He's saying he's making a run. He's making it a battle for the RB3. Now, he did say Ben Hall might have something to say about that. When you have a player like Jordan Marshall who's playing as well as he is in his first fall camp, it makes guys like Ben Hall run a little harder. So it does appear from Sharon Moore's comments that it is a Ben Hall, Jordan Marshall battle for RB3, which, I mean, on our end as a fan, that's exactly what we want to hear because both those, I mean, obviously Jordan Marshall had more hype coming out of out of high school, a more highly ranked recruit. But Ben Hall, as we know, has maybe a potential gem unearthed, high potential, very strong player. So if those two can make that a battle, I mean, it just goes to show you the depth too at that position. I mean, so we're in a great place in the running back room, a lot of positives coming out of camp. Sharon Moore seems very happy about the way things are trending. And I'll hit on defense whenever you're ready for that, John.
Well, I do just want to really quick thank Moose for another gifted membership. This one went to Joe Long, who I believe is a USC fan. He hangs out in the USC channel a lot. So now we've got a USC fan member. We've got an Iowa member. Quite a few joining the Those Who Stay Will Be Champions. And that's all I had. And feel free to go to defense.
Yeah, actually, I had one question for TJ because we didn't cover it. We talked about it last week, but I want to know your opinion because we had actually talked about output from wide receivers in terms of yards versus output from tight ends. And I thought they would be really, really close. You know, that was a topic we talked about last week. What do you think, TJ, in terms of yards from tight ends versus wide receivers? Who's going to win that battle?
No, I think that's actually a great topic because, listen, I think obviously we're going to be a power run heavy offense like we've been, especially with a running capable quarterback. But where is our air yards going to come from? And I think when you have two targets like Marlin Klein, Colson Lovin, so I don't know your guys' opinion on it. But I will say, you know, I do think you might see a balance. I think that's very fair to say that Colson Loveland and Marlon Klein may have a near similar production point as Tyler Morris and Samaj Morgan and Fred Moore. Now, I would say I would probably lean on the side of maybe a 60-40 distribution from wide receiver to tight end. I would expect the wide receivers to have a higher production, but not much. And especially when you have the number one tight end in the nation in Colson Loveland, and then you have this up-and-comer in Marlon Klein, who is faster than Marlon Klein, for those who don't know, because I know there's a lot of people now getting into football mode. We have NFL picking up. We got the college just a couple weeks away. Marlon Klein is taller than Colson Loveland. Marlon Klein is faster than Colson Loveland. Marlon Klein is an extremely gifted athlete who they are very high on. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be better than Colson Loveland by any means, but I am saying the archetype of player that Marlon Klein is at tight end is ideal. He should be a threat, and he's playing well in camp. They have the coaching staff thinks very highly of Marlon Klein. So yeah, I think I would go 60-40 distribution split. And I think it will be fairly close, Ferris.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it would be close to 50-50, but we'll see. Yeah, that was kind of the
something we'll monitor.
Surprise, on that tight end position versus wide receiver. So
definitely something we should keep an eye on all season. Something that we could definitely touch on later in the year.
And Moose, thanks again. And this time, John Shaw got gifted a membership. So John Shaw, I don't know who you root for. Feel free to type it in the chat. But welcome to those 30 days to try out the Those Who Stay Will Be Champions membership. Okay.
All
TJ,
right, so
defense?
Transition to defense, and we got a lot here. So Barham has been a monster. Barham has been everything is advertised. We've been talking about it since spring ball. He's added some extra weight. He's apparently unblockable or very difficult to block. I mean, I'm sure he's getting blocked occasionally, but the word out of Ann Arbor is he is being very disruptive. They are using him to rush the passer. They're putting him in the Sam role. They also have him dropping back in coverage. He's athletic enough to handle that. He was Pro Football Focus's #1 rated linebacker last season. We now have him. And listen, there's been some talk that he's playing at a high level, similar to a very famous linebacker who was here recently by the name of Devin Bush. Now, I'm not going to say that. I mean, that's high. That's incredibly high praise. He went top 10 in the first round. But I guess there's those type of vibes coming out of Ann Arbor that he's playing at that type of level right now. And if we can get that type of production out of Jay Sean Barham, then goodness gracious, look out, because his defense is going to be insane. And it will be insane anyways. Zeke Berry is the next player I'm going to hit on. And there's a very strong belief out of Ann Arbor that he's the next cornerstone player. He's the next name to know he's really shining at that role, which is going to be the nickel back role, which is the third corner in this versatile defense. And anyone who's new to, what's Michigan up to, what's the defense going to look like, who are the new names? Zeke Berry is the name to know. They are expecting to be an impact player. It's his year to take that next step. And then very interesting, because we've had this debate all summer, who's going to be cornerback 2. I was a big fan of Amir Hall, but word out Ann Arbor is Jayire Hill is actually taking the role of CB2, which is great to hear because he's a highly ranked recruit. Jayire Hill is currently starting opposite of Will Johnson and holding his own, playing very well. They're very confident so far that in his play. He's really shown up, and he's understanding the playbook. He's doing his thing. But hey, Amir Hall is no slouch himself, is also playing very well in camp. Michigan actually feels like it has 3 starting caliber cornerbacks in obviously Will Johnson, who's going to go first round projected top 10. Amir Hall and Jayire Hill. So if you have 3 quarterbacks, you have a quarterback who can pinch hit, or you can sub them in, or put them in those more diverse packages. That's great. So the fact, and what I'm going to get to at the end of my defensive breakdown for fall camp is, which I'll get to it, but so I'll hit on, all right, so Quentin Johnson next, right? So at the safety position, we've also had the debate, who is going to start next to Makari Page? Well, as it stands right now, Quentin Johnson is currently starting opposite of Makari Page, and they're saying Quentin Johnson looks comfortable. He's playing the role very well. It's his year. He waited his entire career to get the starting opportunity. He was going to enter into the NFL draft. He did not. He pulled back. So this is his year to take the opportunity as a starter. And we're going to see what he can do with it. But by all accounts, he's stepping up in camp. And then this is a very big one, Rayshawn Benny. Rayshawn Benny has played extremely well in camp. So this will be our 3rd defensive tackle. This is that rotational depth piece. This was also a pretty highly ranked recruit coming out of high school. He played last year as well, but he was coming back from an injury. He is 100% healthy, ready to go, and he's playing very well. And that is where I want to get to when I close on my camp notes. There was concern heading into the season at a lack of depth because of how many players we lost in the draft. We did lose a little bit of players in the transfer portal, but what Michigan is finding is they may have more depth than they thought. Players like TJ Guy stepping up. We're going to get into when we do position previews. We're going to hit on some other names, which I won't get into now. I'll save some of that information for that. But in terms of the defensive line, but there appears to be more depth. For example, Jaden McBurrows is playing very well also in camp, who's going to be backing up Zeke Berry. I just told you about Amir Hall backing up Jayire Hill. And then, defensive line, there's also some players there, which we'll hit on in the next topic. But the point being is Michigan may not be as short as depth as they thought they were going to be heading into this. And as Sharon Moore said, he's extremely happy with where we are right now in camp. Things are going extremely well. And that's great to hear because, as I said, we are a damn good team. We think this defense is going to be top 5, possibly number 1, if no question, top 10. And then if Alex Orji can be as advertised, we're in for a hell of a season, boys.
Wow. Okay. That was worth the price of admission right there, TJ. Okay, great job. All right.
Good info.
Yeah, we lost Mike Sanastriel. We lost Junior Colson. We lost Chris Jenkins. Will this defense be better than last year? Those are 3 huge losses there, right? So plus more, literally more. But
it's a great question. It's a great question. If Rod Moore was not injured, I would say absolutely. That's my hesitancy because Rod Moore is an all Big Ten caliber safety. I think this defense has the potential to be better than last year's championship winning defense. No question about it. And another player, which I did not hit on that Moose did hit on, which is Cole Sullivan. So for example, Sharon Moore was asked what freshman could have an impact this year. Cole Sullivan was a name he mentioned. There were some other names he mentioned, but I want to save it for our position preview. There's a couple guys. There's even more good info coming out of camp, but I want to save it for our position preview, which we're going to do on defensive line coming up. But guys, honestly, camp is going well. And it's not even some Michigan bias. If we wouldn't be getting some of these positive reports if things were not really trending in a certain direction. So Cole Sullivan's definitely been stepping up. TJ Guy is another one, which we will hit on. And there's another name I'll save for our position.